All right, Brian, I'm gonna start. So I'm Juice calling hosting out of New York here, and I had a pretty cool experience, Brian. My friend told me yesterday that his dog died,
Mhm.
and he's real close to him. So I had a dream last night that I was holding his dog and trying to find out where he was, trying to find
Mhm.
out where the guy's name is Peter. I'm trying to figure out where the heck he was because the dog wanted to know where he was. So I was holding him in my arms like this, and we're going through different areas, and the dog was talking to me and asking me or telling me to go different directions to try to find him, but we couldn't find him.
Oh
And
wow.
I was just thinking that, my friend Peter, he's still in the physical realm. His dog's now in a different realm, and I'm in a dream realm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe there's some type of connection going on. Who knows? But it was pretty cool. I let him know that. I didn't hear back from him yet.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, just things like this is very very exciting to um to experiment and do things like this. It's just great. It's so exciting to me. I know a lot of people out there to do experiments and stuff like that is exciting. Course verification and stuff. You don't
Yeah.
want to be wasting your time, I guess. So what's new with you, Brian? What's going on?
Oh, not too much. I've been busy working and stuff. I missed our last couple meetings, but not too much. Just been busy with work.
Right. Any time to practice?
Before bed, I've been practicing,
Okay,
and yeah, it's definitely helped my dream recall.
good. That's the best step you can get in the beginning that shows
Yeah,
you're on the right path, from my experience.
yeah, it's improved my dream recall a lot.
Nice.
So.
Um, do you feel when you practice before you go to sleep, do you feel like you're losing sleep? Curious.
Um, Not really,
Okay.
because I actually work later in the day, so I can sleep in,
Right.
and so when I practice before bed, it doesn't really affect me my overall sleep.
Right. That's good. That's good. Looks like Jace, did you get your connection working?
Yep.
Jace, oh, there you are.
Oh yeah, yeah, I made it.
Anything new going on, Jace?
Not AP wise.
Maybe snow wise?
Yeah, 6 inches, man. It's nuts.
Crazy. All right. Hi Marty.
Hey, when you had your dream, did you know the dog had died or
Yes.
not?
He told me that before I went to sleep that night that the dog died. So it was
Ah,
fresh in my mind. I wasn't conscious. I mean, I wasn't lucid in the dream. I was just being led along with the dream like a regular dream. There's no lucidity, and I think it's pretty amazing. I don't know the total connections, what's going on, but I'm trying to figure it out.
does that help you make you believe more in life after death?
No.
No.
No. It's just maybe because the dog was on my mind. I don't know. That's what I see it
Yeah.
as. A dog was on my mind and I dreamed about him because it was the last thing I thought about. But that's also a sign that you use when you're intention when you're out of body. So I'm piecing it all together. Get there one day. What's new with you?
Oh, I had a very interesting experience. I did get out for a very frustratingly short period of time. Um,
Wow, awesome.
but talking about trying to piece it together, this whole deal about what is it that actually goes out, and what word you put on it, like consciousness, is that the word you would give it? Is your consciousness? Because the conscious, anyway, I'll tell you why I'm trying to figure this out. So, I've been trying and trying and trying. I use a lot of the Michael Reduga. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, from the phase.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wiggle hands, rub hands, peer, listen, spin, blah, swim. So, I'm cycling through and I'm doing all the stuff. And then I guess I went to sleep. This was Sunday morning. And so the next thing, I'm in like Macy's, and I want to be able to find a place I can be by myself that I can sit and like meditate and continue on to try to do my techniques. So this person at Macy's says, well, if you go to the top floor all the way to the end, there's nobody there. There's just storerooms. You can be by yourself. So I go there and I'm sitting like cross-legged and doing all this stuff. So I'm now, of course, I'm in a dream. I don't know I'm in a dream. This isn't a lucid dream. And in my mind, I was in the physical. So I'm getting into a nice trance and I'm going through, continuing my techniques in a dream. And I'm feeling pretty good I'm pretty deep in this trance. And along comes a security guard and he's being really rude and accusatory. And he's, I'm really unhappy that this security guard is hassling me. And he's saying, give me your, and then he says a word and I can't figure out what the last word is. And he says it and I say, I can't understand what do you want me to give you? And he says it 3 or 4 times and he's getting real irritated with me because I can't understand him. So I thought, I keep asking him, he's just getting mad. So I'll just give him something. And if it's wrong, then maybe he'll say it clearer what he really wants. So I give him my phone and he gets the phone and he says, so you stole a phone. So you admit you stole a phone. And I said, no, that's my phone. And he looks at it and he's going through and I guess he sees there's content on the phone. And he says, I guess that is your phone. So then I say to him, well, no, don't you think it's kind of really rude of you? Like I'm sitting here minding my own business. I'm not hurting anybody. And you come and you start hassling me and you're accusing me of things. So he gets a look on his face like, maybe, like he's pondering my question. And then right at that instant, boom, I go out of my body in the dream. But, for all the people who say, is it a lucid dream or is it an OBE? Well, in my case, in my experience, which I've my many, like 7 now documented OBEs that I have compared to all you veterans. Anyway, in my case, there is no doubt I feel this huge exit when I go out. It's like if you start feeling nauseous and you go and you start dry heaving, that's one thing. When you start actually throwing up your cookies, you know the difference. You did it. The cookies went. There is no question. It's a very intense physical experience. Well, for me, when I go, it's an intense surge. And it's not a question, am I lucid dreaming or am I not? I have this exit experience. So I'm just saying that because in this dream in Macy's, it was the very intense physical experience of, my consciousness leaving my body. So it was like I went from a regular dream to an OBE. It wasn't a lucid dream, regular dream. And then, so now I'm in this storeroom area at Macy's and the guard's gone. I'm in, so, we've talked about how locale 1 or the be here now or whatever you want to call it is still different than your actual physical reality, as we've talked about. So I'm in the same physical reality, except the guard's gone. And I had some things sitting beside me where I was sitting and they're gone. So I'm in this empty space. So I'm in this quandary, like I've been trying, as you know, for the last 2 weeks, trying to get out and haven't been able to get out. Now here I am out, but I'm thinking my physical body, which is of course actually a dream, but I'm thinking it's my physical body, is sitting there unresponsive. And that guard is not going to take well to me not responding as he continues to question my physical body. And so naturally, the minute that I become obsessed with what's happening to my physical body, I'm out of, but of course, instead of waking up in my dream physical body, I wake up back in bed, and then I'm really pissed because now I had an opportunity that I've been trying for 2 weeks. I finally got out, and I went back. And I mean, I knew when as soon as I thought about my physical body that I was going to go back. But I also didn't want to leave it at the mercy of this horribly rude security guard. So the question is, what the heck is going on here with, with this consciousness, what's going out? And so what do you guys all think? It was a real OBE.
Yeah.
But the trying to figure out the mechanics of all this is.
Well, I think just doing that, it'll just build on your motivation and your intention, and hopefully you'll continue to have more, and you'll be more relaxed in the next one. It won't be so consumed with your body, and I think it's great of what you experienced there, that you got out.
But you know what though, Juice? I'm like you. I'm trying to put the whole package together.
Yeah.
It's like, that's why I brought up the Michael Newton stuff, which Ronnie, unfortunately, put that all in with everybody's experiences when they astrally traveled. Michael Newton was not an astral traveler. I don't even know if he knew what that was. He was a psychiatrist, but he was like a parallel guy to Robert Monroe, only he was a psychiatrist who hypnotized people and regressed them. And by happenstance, people started being regressed to between lives. And after 7 years and 7,000 tapes and transcripts of these people that were under hypnosis, all agreeing with each other, he was saying, how can you question the validity of this when 7,000 people have told me the same thing and I have not led them? He was very, very careful. If you ever listen, you can just go on YouTube. It's about an hour and a half long interview with Michael, Newton, over a 30-year period. But all I'm saying is that's all part of this picture. This is, it's not like that's over here and the astral travel's over here. I mean, this is all, it's all part of the same story. And
you're putting the pieces together. You're doing it.
yeah,
You're sitting at the table with the puzzle, and we're all doing
right,
it. Some people have the puzzle more together than others, but I mean, you got to be happy when you get those right pieces.
Yeah, well, Juice, your skepticism toward, or not skepticism, but wish for validity or proof of an afterlife, you should listen to him and see if you can come up with any other explanation.
Yeah, Marty, maybe you can just put his name in there for everybody again when you get a chance in the chat area.
Okay. I don't have a link, but you can type it in.
Anybody else like to respond to Marty? Okay. Well, great, Marty. It's always nice to hear that somebody's getting out. I mean, it's nothing
Finally.
better than that. Let's see, Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hi, everyone.
What's new? What's going on?
How y'all doing? Oh, been busy. Of course. Always busy. I had something this morning. Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I kind of know, like, I'm in that space where I woke up a little early, so I could probably get into that space and maybe have a lucid dream or try to project. So I thought I'm going to try, and I was kind of more, how do I say? I felt like I used more intention, like more, like sometimes I'll say, I want to, or I will, or, I am going to project. And I felt like this morning I said more like I am right now going to project and have something to tell the group tonight. I was kind of like more, it's going to kind of that in that mindset. And so I felt, and I decided, I think, I forget, someone had shared, I've heard so many different things, to maybe try a different approach instead of trying to project outward and see your body out, and you're always trying to get out, go inward. Go ahead and try something a little different. So I said, okay, I'm going to go inward. And I started kind of focusing in, and then I felt a sinking sensation, which I don't usually feel. I usually feel a sloshing, swaying back and forth sensation. And I started sinking into sort of myself, my body, my bed, whatever. It's hard to explain. And then I've had this similar feeling before where I feel like, oh, okay, I think I'm doing it. Okay, so when I start to, I was trying to bring my legs to the side and sort of turn over. And I remember one of you guys, maybe it was Dave or it might have been Brett, said, try to put your legs over the side of the bed. See if you could do that. And I tried that. And I felt like I was getting up, and I had, again, it was very fuzzy, not clear at all. I made my way to the door. I thought I had to open the door, not because I thought maybe I'll go through, and I didn't. And I'm like, okay, I'll open the door. And I opened it. And then I walked out into the house. Again, it did not look exactly like my house does today, but I knew my husband was out there in the kitchen somewhere, and I turned and I thought I saw him getting something out of the refrigerator, and I tried to get his attention, but everything went black again. Not black, but kind of dimmed, like started dimming away. And I thought, okay, clarity, clarity. And then I opened my eyes in bed. And then when I opened my eyes, once again, I thought, as I've done, because I've done this very, very similar thing before. It's like, was that a dream? Did I dream that? Or was that a half projection, half dream? It was that weird, weird feeling, like where it didn't seem like a dream, but then it didn't seem like a conscious projection. So I was so confused.
Right. Well, that's great. Julie, are
I
you?
guess, I don't know. I wish I was more conscious in the, because I know I've been conscious 2 times, and it's so different. It's so different.
Yeah.
I'm so awake,
Oh yeah.
and there's
Yep.
no question. And the times that I've done this before, it's almost like I feel like I might be starting to get it, and then I just kind of just can't quite stay conscious enough and fall back in sort of a mixture of a dream or something. Any advice or any suggestions? Anybody have that kind of experience before?
I've had that before. What you talked about, the different levels of consciousness, or not being fully conscious, and especially leaving my body and the house being different. And it happens more than it doesn't, where the house is different. There's different things in different areas, and I'm kind of upset because, as Monroe puts it, locale one's supposed to be pretty close to the same, but when there's too many reality fluctuations like that, it kind of makes me get a little like, all right, am I really in the physical plane right now? Or, but also the consciousness levels too. I know that the difference between when you're fully I am there versus just kind of going along with it.
It's weird because it's not quite like a dream though, but it's almost so hard to explain. It's
Yeah,
like
it
not a
is.
dream, but I'm not fully conscious. And so I wonder if I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I'm trying to get out too fast, or I don't feel like I'm doing it too quickly, because you want that moment where you feel like, okay, now I can disconnect. So it was interesting. There was something going on for sure that was out of the ordinary, but Yeah.
Well, yeah, for my circumstances, when I get in those states, usually I'm practicing, but not practicing like really hardcore when I get in those semi states. So I was just keep going at it, keep
Yeah.
practicing, keep doing your homework, keep throwing this info in your mind before you go to sleep, the intentions,
Right.
because then you can start using the little tricks too, like you demand stuff, you demand more clarity, you demand more vision, and the more times you'll remember that stuff. Um, Juan, hey Juan, got your hand up?
Okay, yeah. What that lady was describing before, I've experienced that on several occasions. But I want to ask you one. I want to ask her one question. When you opened the door, did you go outside? You know,
It was my bedroom door. I went out into the hallway that connects to the kitchen, and then I turned.
okay. The next time when you find yourself in that situation, try and open the door that leads outside, because outside of that place where you was is called the astral plane.
Mm. Okay.
Okay, so when you came out of your body, that area, I don't know whether it's local one, but it's called etheric zone. I use the word the etheric plane, and it's
Okay.
part of the physical. Yes, it's part of the physical world, but the invisible part of the physical. So you're not going to feel any projection, because that body you cannot project your etheric body, because it's the etheric body that holds the spiritual components that props up your physical body. And that's why it's a bit confusing. You're not quite sure whether you're on the astral plane or whether it's a dream, but your mind consciousness will tell you that this is not a dream, because everything, you will see the energy of the room. It will come with some a kind of aura, and there's so much clarity. But I think the problem you were having was, maybe did you come by a dream, or did you come through sleep paralysis? Because sometimes when you hit that plane, you could still be like in a dreamlike state when you're in it. So you didn't have your full consciousness with you.
Mm.
What
I don't
think
I was dreaming. I don't usually feel paralysis. I don't recognize paralysis. I recognize vibrations and buzzing, but I don't really recognize.
Yeah, vibrations. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Some get sleep paralysis, and some get the vibration. And as to regards to how the room looked, I'll give you an example. I just moved into a new flat, and then I had that kind of projection you had, and I kept on seeing different things in my room. An old stereo, everything. I could not recognize anything that was in the house. But what then happened is that the longer I stayed in that room, each time I projected, I started seeing my things come into the one by one. First, it was mixed up with the person that used to live there. And then eventually it was all mine that was in the room. It even got to a point where I actually saw the woman that used to live there. I saw a spirit in the house. It turned out that when I'd moved into that house, someone had died there, but they did not inform me. So I had just moved into the house, not knowing that there was a ghost in the house. So I eventually confronted her, because I saw her in the room, and I said, what are you doing here? She said, this is my house. I said, no, it's not your house. You're dead. And she appeared to be quite shocked that, how could she be dead? And she said, what do I do next? So I said, well, the next thing to do now is just look towards the light and follow it. And she vanished. And after that, every time I projected, it was always my things in the room. The room you're seeing is not your physical room. It's not your room in the physical. It's your room on the etheric. But it is good when you see your own things in your room, because you can actually use that place as a base to do work, to do spiritual work, serious spiritual work. Yes. And that's what I found. That's what I've noticed. What I found out. But next time you find yourself in that room, try and walk outside, because outside is the astral plane.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Juan.
you.
Yes, you're not in your physical room. Don't try and enter through the door or through the ceiling. You would find out that there will be a resistance. You can't do that.
Is there some way
It's not.
is there a practice that, because I think you're right, it's almost like I'm not really collecting or focusing or getting all my consciousness to exit. Is there a way to be
Yes, there
better
is.
at that?
There is. Yes, it's a command. You can use a command like total recall. I recall everything. Total recall. You give yourself command. You know, anytime you find your vision is fuzzy, you give it a command that you want it to be clear or ask for clarity. Sometimes it won't work. Sometimes you have to say more than once for it to kick in. But
Okay.
eventually, yes, eventually you'll have your full consciousness there with you. And it's very, very powerful when you're fully conscious in that room. It's an amazing experience.
Thanks.
You said you saw your husband. It's possible that you picked up a residual of him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you pick up a residual. It's called the residual energy of him. The residual, yeah. The residual energy of him could be if he makes coffee or tea or in the kitchen,
Right.
all the time. So
Right.
that will create that energy where you will see there, because that's what that plane is, on the energetic plane. That's what it's. Those are the kind of stuff that it stores and replace them.
Thanks, Juan.
Okay. So yeah, hi everybody. It's David. I was about to share. How you doing, Marty? I was about to share a dream, but I thought maybe it was probably inappropriate because there was some political element in the dream. So I'm going to share another dream I had about a month ago. It was one of those full conscious dreams. For the first part of the dream I had, and I always use the word dream because I don't know how else to describe it. I saw 7 lifetimes. I experienced 7 different lifetimes of myself. Everything from my father passing away, and it was my mother that raised and got remarried, to my mother passing away, and then my father raised me, or my parents divorced, and I went with either one of them. Like, it was 7, and I saw it flash through my eyes in my dreams, and I experienced them in like very fast. And then after the 7 events or the 7 lifetimes, I said, this is BS. I'm dreaming, and I figured that out. And I just woke up in the dream, fully awake, and I counted back, because counting forward is too easy for me now. So I try to count back instead because it's harder. And I got from 10 to 5, and that was enough for me to say, okay, I'm definitely dreaming. And what happened next, it was really, really interesting. After I counted back, I touched the ground, and then I touched the walls, and I touched water on the ground, and that said, okay, that confirmed I'm dreaming. And then all of a sudden, this gentleman behind me, and I didn't see him, there was like a kind of bar. He says, you are dreaming, Dave, kind of. And I said, oh boy, it's one of those. Fantastic. And when I turned around, there was a man there. He was pale-ish, and he had eyes as if he had been working for 2 weeks straight without any sleep. So he looked kind of not dead, but beyond exhaustion, and I couldn't understand why. He said, Dave, I don't have a lot of time. I just need to show you something really quick. And all of a sudden he pointed to the wall, and it was no longer a wall. It was a blue board, like a blue board. And it was lit up, and you had all these numbers and lines and stuff. And I said, what is this? I just need to show you something really quick. And he says to me, you came from here, and he showed me the solar system, and it took you and others to 11 years to arrive here. And then he showed me planet Earth, and he said to me, it's your time to go, but you need to do a number of things first before you leave. And I don't know if he's trying to tell me I'm going to die soon. I couldn't figure that one out. But he said to me that all you need to leave here is all around you. And he kept saying to remember, it took you 11 years to get here. And I said, okay, I don't like this dream anymore. I don't know why I'm dreaming this, but I'm fully awake now. So it's time for me to go. And then I opened my eyes, and I was back here.
sounds like Robert Monroe talks about the psi force, about how we're possibly here as an experiment. We'll get into that.
Well, there's one last piece of something. I was speaking to an old buddy a couple weeks ago, and he told me the craziest experience he had. He said he woke up in his bed, and right above his head there were two people hovering above him, and they looked like they were in some kind of panel room, staring at him, talking about him, and he could hear them, even though they were behind a glass window. And he heard them saying, did you administer this? Did you administer that? He should be in this dream sequence for so much more hours. And then one of them looked at the other one and said, actually, something is wrong. And they looked at him and realized he was staring straight at them. And he said, holy shit, he's conscious. And then this other guy came into the room, he said, into this weird hovering panel room, and said, just administer immediately. And for whatever reason, when they said that, the panel area went away, and he just stood there in a state of shock, fully awake.
Interesting. It sounds like what we're getting into tonight, David.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Juan?
Yeah, my take on that, my take on that one is because sometimes when you're dealing with the inner self is also a trickster. So it could be one of those ones where it's trying to initiate an out-of-body, it's trying to initiate an out-of-body experience. And it's interesting you said they stood behind a window, because the window itself means that the fact that there's a screen and they're looking through the window suggests that they are not even on the same plane that you're in. Because things like windows and screens on the psychic plane are to do with barriers. So it could be, I believe it's just your inner self playing tricks on you.
Okay.
Anything that helps to initiate an out of body experience is good.
Great. All right.
Yeah, I have had situations where I got bit by a vampire in a dream, and it was so terrible. I mean, I thought I was gonna die. I felt poison and everything, traveling right straight to my heart, and I felt paralyzed. But then I woke up in the state of sleep paralysis, and I was able to project just based on that experience. Even though it was a negative experience, I used that experience to initiate an out-of-body experience.
Cool. Juan, thank you. All right, let's get in. Chapters 19, 20, and 21. The end of the book tonight. Guys, we made it through. I'm going to throw something off the screen here. Statistical classification. So now he's getting in Monroe into putting all his theories and experiments and trying to make up some statistical data out of all this stuff that's going on here. So, let me pull up this. I'm just going to mute you for a minute while you do that. All right. So, Monroe, he talks about he collected data from over 589 experiments spanning 12 years, which he's going to talk about this chapter. And we'll go over some of these. The second state is the antithesis of dreaming, just as a waking state. Recognition of I am consciousness is present. So the I am, and he's kind of distinguishing this between this and dreams and dreaming. And if we go down here, some of his second state experiments, you can see the conditions that he has here: day, night, and warmth. And look at the percentages here of success. So it looks like warmth is pretty important for the second state. Nighttime, 57%, and 42 for the daytime. And if we get down into here, different situations set up with the cold, humidity, barometric pressure, and stuff. The prone position, 100%. So lying on his stomach compared to upright, he has no data there. So he must have had a lot of experiences on his stomach. Am I getting that right, or am I
Yeah, that's what prone means.
yeah? So that's pretty substantial information there.
Yeah.
And then look at the north to south, head to north position, 62.4% to have your head facing north because of the pull. Anybody would like to talk about these first? These stats here on this information? Nobody
Well,
does.
my
Yeah, go
mine
ahead,
all
Marty.
head to the west, so I don't know. When I'm lying on my bed, the top of my head's pointing west. When I try to do on the couch, which is where I put on the headphones for the binaural, the hemi-sync, my head's north. I've never had an experience with my head to the north. So
Yeah,
it's mine have all been to the west. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but I mean, because I have had 5.
yeah.
So what do you guys, what's your experience?
Yeah, regarding the north, according to the pagan, north is the place of darkness. In terms of facing north, but maybe it also helps to get some good sleep too. The darkness, you understand? The
Oh,
east,
yeah.
yeah, but if you're facing the east, there's too much light. It might keep you awake. So, but I've not tried because of the way my room is. It's difficult for me to sleep on the north side. But there is something about where you sleep. I don't have any empirical evidence or anything like that. I'm only going by, occult, metaphysical stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So, David?
Yeah, I've got none of that Fang Shuang standard. I'm all over the place. It's like from night to night, I sleep in different rooms. But what I will say, even though it's not about the positioning, somehow if I position my head facing the window where I can see the moon, that always tends to relax me and put me in different states. It helps anyways. I don't know if that's relevant or anyway, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, that does help because the moon does send out some astral influences. What are called astral influences. The sun side, the moon sends it out. So if you're harmonizing with the moon, it's a very good thing to do.
He says here that there is no noticeable effect from sunlight, humidity, pressure changes, physical body location, or the moon's gravitational forces. And then he gets into your psychological state here. And here's the success experiments. If anybody would like to comment on these, feel free. I just highlighted things that seem to help the most. Being tired here. So being tired versus being rested. Looks like tired wins out. Interesting. When you're under illness and stuff like that, it's not good. Not good for OBE. And then eating. So after you're eating, before eating, so maybe your stomach takes over and sending too much information to the brain saying it wants to eat, distracts you. And drugs and stuff, you never said drugs, usually it screws things up, but it can help, but it's down here at 12.4% here, I guess. Here's some more information. Psychological state. You can see when you're frightened there, how it knocks down. You don't want to be frightened or scared too much. What does anybody think? What's he mean by preoccupied here? What do you think? What do you think he's talking about there for being
Yeah,
preoccupied?
I was confused by that as well.
I would think if you're preoccupied, you'd be distracted.
I
It
don't know.
could be maybe it means preoccupied with certain thoughts, and if that thought predominates your mind when you go to sleep, it can act. It depends on what your mind is preoccupied with. If it's preoccupied with projecting,
Right.
then maybe that's yeah. It will
Exactly.
cross
Yeah.
over. Yeah, it will cross over to the realms of the subconscious mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Origination of conditions, willfully induced, 40%, intermediate, 44, spontaneous. So I'm getting if you're too distracted and you're just hoping that you're going to catch an out of body experience without all the intentions and willfulness and stuff, it's not a good chance it's going to happen.
That's true.
Which, yeah, most of us, we all talk about that intention, how important it is. He's got some methods, his success rates and different types of methods that we heard about through the different chapters here. And it seems like his favorite here is the countdown relaxation, which you can look up at the end of the book. He talks about the different methods, so you can read exactly what that means. We'll do that on Wednesday's meetup. We can look into some of those.
Perfect.
He always talked about the air hiss sound, which is pretty prominent here, 45. How at certain points he's had that sound all the time. And then we get back to the feeling of warmth again, and how high the feeling of being warm and being body temperature, not too cold, not too hot. And then we get into perception here. So look at this. Look at the taste and smell. It's almost obsolete. And then the biggest thing in out of body, second state movement at 94% is which he considers, he kind of added movement in as a sense he talks about. So that's why he added that in there, the senses, because he considers that when you're out of body is a very important sense of movement. And then other things he can't even classify. He didn't understand other 73%.
I think in terms of taste and smell, that's down to the individual.
So
Because when you say taste and smell, is he saying is his sense of taste and smell when he's in the locations, or what is it? What does he mean?
Yeah, when he's out of body, that he hardly ever tastes or smell anything when he's in the second state out of body.
Yes, but it is possible in that second state to taste and smell.
I guess he's saying it's super rare though.
Yeah, it might be super rare for him because you have to remember we developed. Some of us have got highly developed sense of smell more than others.
Right.
Yes.
Could that also mean that if we can taste water during these states, that it's indicative of us?
Yes.
It
yes,
could be indicative of us
does.
dreaming. No, it could be indicative of us actually dreaming and not being in an out-of-body experience.
No, it is possible to drink water and eat food on the astral plane and actually taste the food. And it's not a dream.
He kind of says right here, he says, there's no apparent explanation on the low position of the taste and smell senses on the scale, other than that both depend upon physical contact with matter itself or particles of matter.
I think I understand what he's trying to say. He's talking about actual interaction with the physical matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Okay, I get that now. Okay.
And then he gets into radiation perception levels when we're out of state versus when we're in the physical. So he gets pretty deep into radiation. Individuals is more developed the taste of smell patterns, the taste and smell patterns. So I kind of see where he's getting at here. All right, and then this is some of the different things he experienced: the animate, intelligent, subhuman, artifact, unknown, and stuff. Inanimate objects and beings. And then
How was he able to quantify all this data? That would have required.
yeah, she said 12 years of this is 12 years of his work here. The stuff that we're reading. Physical science precepts here. He breaks it down into time, matter, structure. Look at all this, different things, radiation and it's a lot of this is over my head right now. I don't know about you guys.
I'm still astonished that he's able to quantify this data. Like, what is his frame of reference? Was it just based on his experiences?
Also other people too.
Okay.
Other people that in his little lab that he set up there.
Okay.
I don't know whether he's talking about picking on waves, on radio waves, because we can pick on those kind of waves, radio waves, and all those kind of levels. It's not just the astral plane that we can access. The other realms where people can actually hear the radio playing, like on live. You understand?
Yeah.
Some people have reported that. I've had that too, hearing the sound of the the radio. So we're able to tune into radio waves too.
Yeah, that's
I know it's freaky, but can tune into radio waves. Yeah.
Here he gets into different locale breakdown here, guys. So you can see locale 1, 2, and 3, and how this information that he's brought together fits into different locales. And the different entities and structures and animates that he came across, he broke it all down. Even it like aging and stuff and male-female relationships. I guess they don't work as well in other realities as well as they do here too. Let's see, gravity, and it's pretty big, the matter structure, and time is usually the top of the list when he breaks down time, how time works in these realities. Extended exploration of the second body phenomenon by an expanded research group, that could be us guys, can bring about truly comparative studies of these areas. All that is needed is motivation. I think we're here because we got the motivation. So I see Robert Monroe talking about us right now. So after all these years, Monroe still doesn't know how or why this departure from the norm took place. So he's still confused why all this is happening to him. And yeah, I thought this was kind of sad, guys, and he did too. Monroe thought it was sad because a full-scale development of directory-related knowledge is not likely to come in his physical lifetime of all this information he's putting together. So he knew that he wasn't going to see the conclusion of what he's been finding out here. So this gave me a sad feeling, but it made me happy though that we're actually the ones living and can continue this and get more answers.
I would like
there are already answers. Sorry, there are already answers to those questions that he's posed, but people are not aware that there are answers to it. Yeah, it's not the first one who has blazed the astral plane and done on the journey. The people from the mystery schools have always had people that could project and travel. So all these theories have already been carved out already. So he claims he doesn't know how he had the ability to project or do all those things. But the only answer to that one, what I can, and this is an assumption, is that part of what we bring back during every reincarnation when we come back is our growing psychic abilities. So at some point, when we are ripe, we feel this thing called where we start having all this explosion of psychic experiences, sleep paralysis, everything, all kinds of different kinds of psychic abilities are shown to us. These are our hidden talents. These are the talents that we need to develop. We are shown these things. So it means that we're ready. And he was probably ready. And when the time was ready for him, he started projecting and having all those experiences. It's not something that God just gave to someone. This is our past drafts that we've done in past incarnation, our past developments, which we've brought back. And when the time is ready, it activates.
It seems like he wanted more of the scientific community to be accepted with it and have more scientific data. That's what he's more looking for. Yeah, he knows people are doing this stuff all over the world, but it's so sporadic. It's all in different areas of the world and stuff. To me, it sounds
I can understand where it's coming from, but I thank God that science can't use it, because science has abused everything that they have put their hands on, and this can be abused.
Yeah.
So I'm not really one for let the science know about it, because I know that it can be abused.
Yeah, and he kind of gets into that a little bit too, how it can be definitely be abused and actually control the whole planet. And actually, he thinks that people actually are controlling this planet, possibly right now doing this.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that's a very scary part. People are not even aware of how powerful this thing is, and how if it falls into the wrong hands, they can abuse you. They can take control of you, and you will not
right.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he gets into as we could be possibly be lab animals here on the planet. And then what happens if people are using us here on this planet? And then what happens if they just leave us here and they forgot about us? You know, what happens to the lab animals after the experiment ends here, whatever that might be the case? And he had a question mark on that. And then he gets into the Psi-Force story. I noticed they made a comic book about that. It's pretty interesting. Marty?
You know, talking about Juwan was talking about what can get you out there and so on. You know, all these puzzle pieces that I've been gathering up that you guys may or may not be aware of. Have you ever heard of subpersonalities? I mean, if it's kind of like multiple personalities. All right, you've heard of that as a psychiatric symptom where people actually manifest totally a whole different person, like takes them over. Are you familiar with the 3 Faces of Eve deal, all that kind of thing? I've seen from 3 different sources now that are very credible sources that we actually have these subpersonalities that are part of our consciousness. So if you think of this whole ball of wax as actually being a manifestation of consciousness, then we really need to be looking at what all is comprised in our consciousness. And if we actually have these subpersonalities that our dominant personality is not aware of consciously, that might be part of what looks like demons or other negative forces that people are running into. Am I getting too obtuse here? The 3 people I'm talking about, one is a guy named Jay Early, who I should put it in the chat. He wrote a book called Self-Therapy. It's called The Internal Family Systems. When they talk about internal family, they're talking about the internal family that lives in your consciousness, in your head. All these different personalities that are subpersonalities. So that's a very good book, and a very prominent psychologist I knew made me study that. Long story, but anyway. So that's one, J. Early. Another one is Ken Wilber. Any of you guys ever hear him, the philosopher, or whatever you want to call him?
No.
He brings this up when he talks about the shadow, our shadows, which are like our demons, are negative things that we try to repress, and then they turn into like internal demons, and that he calls those subpersonalities. And the third one is a hypnotist named Freddie Jacquin. Anybody ever hear of Freddie Jacquin? I really should try to contact him and see if he knows anything about getting into astral travel, because he's I've read numerous hypnotists, and he's top of the list to me. But at any rate, when he's been trying to work on people's issues, he does this thing he calls parts negotiation. Well, the part is another name for subpersonality. And in the internal family systems, they call them your parts. And Jay Early himself, who wrote that book, says he feels he probably has at least 55 different subpersonalities that he's identified. And they always call them parts. So there's 3 different people that when like Freddie Jacquin's trying to get someone to quit smoking, they try to figure out what part is what subpersonality, which is calling a part, thinks that smoking is somehow doing a service for you. It's somehow at some point in your life when you started smoking, it was because you thought it was cool, or you thought it would make you relax, it did something for you. And even though you no longer consciously feel that, there's this part of you that's saying, no, you need to smoke because it does these wonderful things for you. And so then he'd say, you have to negotiate with that part, or else you'll never quit. Because, so, again, I'm kind of getting off on a thing, but again, trying, just like in my deal where I had an OBE out of a regular dream, but the dream is part of your consciousness. So, I mean, the whole thing is all consciousness, right? I mean, even our physical world, what we call our physical world. So anyway, I'm just thinking if you all want to like put all the real pieces together, we should really be looking at those subpersonalities and also like what happens when we die. Because I mean, we all are going to have our own experiences here as far as astral travel, but we're all going to die.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
something's going to happen.
Right.
And we should be trying to figure out the equation on that. And even if you're not thinking about yourself dying, maybe somebody that really, really, really matters a whole lot to you dies, and then it comes into the forefront. So,
Right.
okay, I blabbered enough. I'll put those
Oh,
names in the chat.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, you can put them down there.
Or
Thanks,
homework
Marty.
load.
Yeah. Monroe starts to get into Psi-Force hypothesis. It was, to me, it's a little confusing, but basically he's telling a story of about why we're here, humans, and a possible type that we might be put here as an experiment and then forgotten about eventually. Did anybody understand the Psi-Force a little more?
I don't know much about the ciphers, but one thing I do know is that we were not created by God, but we're created by God's creation. Because even if you read the Bible, it doesn't say God created us. It used a plural that we should make them in our image. So I don't know whether we're created by the Titans or who were created, but we're not created by God. So
Well, yeah.
we're an experiment. I agree the part of us being an experiment, we were not created by perfect beings. That's why we have imperfections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Monroe gets into here saying that he had beam visitations by a light, some of his experiences that he had, and that he cried like he never did before because he lost his faith of God from his childhood after these lights went inside him, and he got this information from these lights that came inside, and he lost his faith in religion, and it talks about him crying and stuff for a while. Let's see if I could pull something up here on that. I noticed that they made a Cyforce Marvel comic, and I'm wondering if they got that idea from Robert Monroe because it came out in the 80s. Jason, you know anything about that Cyforce comic book?
I do not.
Okay, Marvel's the one that ran it. PSI Force. So here's at the end of this chapter, look what he puts here. Are we then just leftover laboratory animals, or perhaps an experiment is still in progress? See that drawn?
Yeah, an experiment still in progress. I like that one.
Yeah. And then right above it, you can read here. He talks. This is where he lost his religion beliefs here, as it being the loss of the illusion. Here, he talks a little bit about that. And this is from that light that enters his head. Some of his experiences here he talks about at night, and where he was a pumping station attendant, and he feels like other civilizations have contacted him and brought him here. David, I think you were talking about that a little bit earlier, and how you were from a different planet and stuff, and you were brought here possibly.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is the same thing that Monroe felt, that possibly he was, his mind's been wiped and he's been brought here for an experiment, and his idea to get information out. But who knows the big picture behind all this? So he's looking for that help for what if we figure out what's going on with the second state, it'll be a quantum leap for mankind. And it could be the gateway that opens into a new era of man's history. Look how important that is. And how strong it could be. Like Juan, you were saying earlier, how powerful it could be to totally utilize and figure out what's going on with this out-of-body state.
Yeah, but all this from what I've seen with Monroe's journey that he's done, he's taken his objective mind to try and study and learn these parts. But when you're projecting, your two minds have to be in operation. And what usually serves for reason on the psychic plane is your voice of intuition. If you understand what I'm saying, that's what serves as reason, not the objective mind. The objective mind doesn't know anything. This is a new territory to it. But our psychic mind knows the territory. It's our psychic mind that moves us around. So if you want any information, you are in the position to actually ask for the answer directly. Like someone mentioned the mystery of life and death. If you want to know the mystery of life and death, you can intend it, and everything will be shown to you, how you died, from every detail of how you died, your past incarnation, to when you passed over and when you crossed over. Everything will be shown to you by your psychic self, which will show it to you. Because that question, to want to know that is a legitimate question. It's a legitimate intent to say, I want to know how I died, or I want to know, and the spirit will move you and it will show you it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
all these answers that we can't be answered are all within us. There's nothing out there but within us. The answer is there for us to find it. And once we've got to a stage where we can leave our body, that means we have access to our subconscious mind.
Right.
So any question we ask, we just wait for the response or wait for the answer to come instantly.
Right.
Yeah, but if you go into the psychic thing with just one brain, just one side of your brain, everything is always going to be like that because there's no interaction between the two minds.
Well, this leads into where Monroe starts to get into when you think about different people and then the influence you have about thought he gets into here. So if you think of somebody, does it trigger something in their head? And he says, pretend we are all connected with an invisible nerve network to everyone we meet. Lots of emotional thoughts, good and bad, are being transferred back and forth. And then how does this affect us? And this happens mostly unconsciously, but if it happened consciously, it would be labeled telepathy. And then is this amplified when we sleep, this type of transmission? He starts asking questions about this. When we die, does this get amplified? And animals and stuff like that too. I mean, I had a dream about my friend's animal who died last night. The type of connections that we have here. And then Monroe gets into wondering how many people out there in the world in the 1960s and 70s can actually leave their body like what he's doing. He starts to wonder that. And then he gets into if a big group of OBEers, if they were organized, could control the destiny of mankind. So if there was a group of people out there that got so good at out-of-body experiences, could they control the destiny of mankind? Monroe's wondering about that. And then he wonders, maybe there is a group right now that's actually doing it. And that's controlling our destiny right now. This is the last chapter thoughts he's getting. So are we under that type of control right now that we don't even know about? And then he brings up how strong this can be by bringing up his pinching episode that he had, where he pinched that one woman. So if you're able to pinch somebody and cause physical damage to somebody or physical marks to somebody while you're out of body, what else could people be using this for? Right now, if there's big groups of people doing this somewhere, what could they do? David?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Regarding that part, that paragraph, it got me thinking quite a bit. And actually the last chapter as well is that I actually do agree at the possibility that this is the methodologies used to achieve astral projection. If it did exist, it is being controlled right now, because the talks, if I remember correctly, talks of astral projection and the silver cord has existed all the way back in the Bible.
Right.
I think the Corinthians, they talk about the silvery cord, and I'm sure even further before that they've talked about soul travel and so forth. But specifically in the Bible, they do talk about the silver cord. Maybe not using the words astral projection, but they were making references that sound like they were talking about astral projection. What happened to us over the centuries then? I mean, if it was a practice back then, why did it take so many years for it to become more, because it was in the Bible and everybody read the Bible. Well, not everybody, but you know what I mean? It was widely distributed.
With a small amount of population.
You're right. And so that's why I wonder if it is being controlled. Robert Monroe was a pioneer in his time. I actually, I used to read books written about him from the 60s. And they were doing extensive, like a lot of the stuff in there, you'll notice the dates are in the 60s as well, right? They were doing extensive experiments on astral, or trying to determine if they could astrally project while they were working with the government for in the remote viewing program. So I do believe that if it does exist at the level that he was activating astral projection, that they're guarding that, they're protecting that from the general population, and potentially, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy nut, but potentially implementing methods to restrain us from actually doing it. If I could be so bold as to,
Right.
right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, David. Great points. Anybody else like to respond to that?
Yes, from what I've gathered, even during during the period of Atlantis, they'd already developed the collective astral projection at that time. So people were able to project. But I think with the coming of religion, all of those practices were silenced. They were burning witches, burning all during the Dark Ages. I think that's kind of silence and made all those our senses go dormant for a while. So now we have to now reawake them now. But some of us are breaking out of the matrix and that bondage now. But not many people. A lot of people are still enslaved by religion and all those kind of stuff. They are still living in those dark ages because religion will kill those abilities you've got because you were told they are evil, that you're in league with the devil if you can leave your body. So they were suppressed by religion.
And so many distractions too these days. I mean, you know, a lot of us on here, we practice a lot with varied success and stuff. I practice a lot, and it's real hard for me to get out. But there's so many distractions to take us off that course so easily. I mean, if I stop for myself, I stop practicing for a couple weeks, I'm totally out of it. I'm not experiencing anything. So I think it'd be easily controlled if it needs to be.
Yes. Yes, and it has been abused by people that project. I mean, there's some people that actually go in for astral rape. If they can project, if there's someone that they fancy, they can project and go and rape that person. So, and that's the reason why I'm saying things like that. It's not really good for it to come out. Let's just leave it the way it is now. And as for the other one, if I tell you what could be done with it, it's very, very scary. Someone who is able to project can mess with other people's head, make them believe that they're strong. You know all this stuff that you can do when you're giving someone self-hypnosis to say believe that your hands are fire or stuff like that. That can be done.
Right.
That can be done to, that's the basis of psychic attacks.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's because where people get psychically attacked is the same place where you see entities. It's the same place where those kind of stuff happens because it's the same body that they're trying to attack, the second body. Because what you call the second body is actually the real body. Because that's the body that carries all our psychic powers and our ability to move things, telepathy and all that stuff. That body is the basis of all that, the second body. So it's a very, very powerful body.
Right.
So when people are scared in it and saying they're seeing all these shadows, it's just unbelievable, not knowing how powerful they are.
Right. Marty?
Sorry to not continue on that exact train. And we just before we end, I hadn't noticed that bit about him talking about being prone. The first time I read the book,
right,
it's like everything you read elsewhere says the best deal is lying flat on your back.
Yeah.
And now, like you said, prone, and he said that a couple other places too. So, at first I thought maybe he misspoke, and then I'm wondering, he surely knows what that means? I mean, do you think it's possible he's confused?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I have never tried it. What's everybody else's experience been? Has anybody ever tried that, lying on their stomach to do it? Or that's all I had to ask. But I'd be interested in getting you guys' responses.
That's why I wanted to make sure with you guys if I got the prone right too, because I was surprised. And I'll try. I'm going to try it out, mess around with it. but I've always heard the back myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, back myself. I'll try it tonight.
It's funny. I should mention that because this morning I went into sleep paralysis, but I was laying on my stomach. So I don't really project from when I'm lying down on my stomach. So I had to stop the experience because I didn't feel comfortable with it lying on my stomach while I was going into sleep paralysis. Some parts of my head thought, oh no, you're going to stop breathing. Your head is going to, you're not going to be able to breathe, and I had to stop the experiment. I mean, I regret it now. I mean, I regret stuff in there. So I should have just gone with it. But a part of me just put a sensor on it that, no, you can't go out now.
I do pain therapy, and it's actually kind of bad for your body to lie on your stomach because your head's going to be one way or the other.
Really?
And I do notice that he mentioned a couple times about how, are you extra tired after you project and all that? And he'd say, well, no, but he'd have a sore neck. Maybe he was on his stomach with his head turned to the side. Oh, no.
Do you guys remember when I mentioned how I haven't been lucid dreaming in the last couple of weeks since I joined this group?
Right.
That continues, by the way. But what I realized, we were talking about distractions a second ago. I don't think it has to do with this group. I think it has to do with the fact that I purchased a game console the same day I joined this group. And like you said, my distraction level, I'm so focused on playing this game that even though if I meditate, I'm just tired afterwards and I just want to go to sleep. And the intent is there, the wishful intent to project is there, but I don't have that drive. So yeah, maybe you have a point about all these distractions are implemented. I'm not saying that you're implying that, but maybe distractions are implemented for a reason,
Well, Monroe talks about that, I forget which chapter it is, about TV, because they didn't have video games back then. When he ends up watching TV for a long period of time, and then he closes his eyes, he just sees TV.
Right, remember that,
He sees like a football game going on in his mind, and from what I got out of it, it's not good for getting into the second state out of body experience when you do stuff like that, because your mind's processing all that information, and it takes energy away, I guess. So yeah, I have a VR set here, and I have a feeling that's screwing around with me too.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oculus? Is that Oculus or is that the
I got the Oculus 2.
Oh, stop it, Juice. You're
that-
killing me here.
Is that what you got?
No, that's when I was I was deployed up north for 9 months and we had access to that thing. Oh, that thing is a beauty.
It is.
Yeah, the original Oculus, that was the years back though, but you have like one of the newer ones, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep. So
beautiful.
it really sucks your energy out of your brain, I think, because I'm limited now just to play with my nephew, and that's it, and get the heck off it, because I'm thinking about that at night of how to solve certain puzzles and stuff on the virtual reality. So, I'm in one reality trying to get to another reality, playing a video game in another reality. I got to make up my mind which realities I want to try to explore here, so without getting too confused.
Right. Okay. Is that Xbox or is that PS?
No, this one's a standalone.
Oh.
This one is just actually has a built-in computer in it where you don't have to hook it up to any computer or anything. It's all built in.
Really?
Yeah, it's a Quest 2. It's called the Quest 2.
Is that one of the original developers ones, or is that like the last 2 years?
That's the last 2 years one.
Okay.
It just came out. So it's the newest one that came out. It's for people that don't want to hook it up to a computer.
That is sickening.
It is. It's sick. It's amazing. Dave, I was going to ask you. He gets in here before we close for the night. Let's see. It's 8:30. Everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming. You can drop out anytime you want.
Just
Okay.
thank you
Oh, you're welcome.
for all your effort.
Yeah, I have to agree. Thank you, Juice, for everything, organization and all those that assisted you there.
Thanks. You guys are giving me the pressure to really focus my attention like a laser to make sure I'm trying to do the best I can. So it really helps me. In the last chapter here, he gets into schizophrenia. Did you see this here, David?
Yeah.
He labels that they suffer from that, some sort of disease of the second body, he says, which is not totally understood, which I can see can go either way. Did you I was curious what you got out of that. If you about about if somebody's a schizophrenic and do they have one foot in the one world and one in the other, and they're actually somebody that's like possibly put them away because it's easier than them to try to get other people thinking in the public of like maybe they are actually talking to somebody in another dimension or something.
There is I won't give out too many details about that, but there is a very good friend of mine. Her son experienced a near death at the age of he had a near death experience at the age of, I believe it was 10 months. His father had left him in the bathtub and to accidentally drown, but fortunately for both of them, she got home early, and she found her son drowning, and she pulled him out. But when the ambulance showed up and everything, and he was alive and all, but they suspected that he was actually clinically dead. Since that time, he has it's leading up to what we're talking about. Since for 10 years, all the way to the time I met him, he had been claiming to see dead people all the time. Whether he's not even, and it's the funny thing is, it would seem like he would step out of, like he would be sitting next to me, and all of a sudden he would just be staring out, and he would just go glazed, like he was somewhere else in another state. And he has spoken to me and shared with me stories of traveling while he was awake, but not awake. And he had to see, of course, specialists, and they were trying to assess him and diagnose him as a schizophrenic mental disorder. But his mother fought because she really believed he was seeing dead people. She believed him that he believed that, and it has something to do with the near-death experience. And it seems to run in their family, where all of them at some point when they're a child are able to see this other side. But it was more prominent or pronounced with him, because of his experience. So I recently, up until the last 3 months, I used to think, oh, it's just, you know what, you have a mental disorder. But in the last 3 months, since I've been joining certainly these groups that talk about spiritual evolution and growth, there are more and more people actually starting to say that people with schizophrenia, not all of them, but a number of them could potentially be vibrating. I don't like using that word, but vibrating at a different state. Hence the reason why they are able to perceive in a different reality than us, or a second state. They can actually perceive the second state while they're in this reality. I don't know if, yeah.
So it's like they have one reality talking to them. They say their family, and then they have one foot in the other reality talking to them. It's like, who do you listen to?
That's exactly what. Interestingly enough, one of the reasons why he was drawn to me, it's not always easy for a single mom to date and everything, but when we started, me and his mom was dating, he was instantly drawn from me, and I would ask him, are you comfortable with me being around? I don't want you to. He goes, no, Dave, you keep them away. And I had to, of course, that's going to play with my mind. I said, what do you mean? Because when you're around, they don't come around. And he was very close to me over the years, and I'm still talking to him. He's in his 20s now. We still talk a lot. He doesn't see them, he says, but he hears them still when they're around, and they talk to him in his ears. And he said, when I was around them when he was a kid, what he liked about me being around is it kept them away. I never understood how was that's even possible, but yeah.
It also reminds me of the story a little bit in the beginning, David. A Beautiful Mind. You ever see that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You see, I can understand. I know we talk. Actually, me and Marty were talking about the cataplexy, because he mentions it in the book. The thing about that cataplexy, transitional, that state, actually not transitional, that state, is you are experiencing hallucinations, visual and audio, but it's at a specific time as you're falling asleep. It's our version of the REM state, as opposed to taking 90 minutes before you go directly into REM and you're dreaming and all that stuff. That cataplexy, we can experience hallucinations at the audio and visual level, and it runs in my family. My mom experiences it. She was going a little bit batty with it, but she started reading and started discussing with me and other individuals in our family, and we've just determined if Dave has been officially diagnosed with it, then there's a chance that other family members have it, because there's a 10%, I think it's 10% hereditary, yeah, up to 10% possibility in other family members.
Right.
And you can see how people can go batty, because they're hearing voices, they're hearing music, they're hearing while they're semi-awake. Thank you.
Right.
That sounds like the development of the third eye, because that's what happens if your third eye is open. Then you're going to be seeing stuff like that, which is why there's a reason why there's a veil between the two worlds. Because once that veil opens, it can lead to insanity of the person not stable. And that's the problem with that, because the psychic eyes are only supposed to be open when they need to be open, not open permanently where you're seeing the dead. It must be very it'll be very horrifying having to see. I mean, to see it, because I had my third eye open once before, just briefly, just to get a sense of what it's like. And I tell you what, it's not something you're gonna like.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Like, say you get some good out of body experiences, and then like you said, you're driving a car or something, you start going out of your body, so now you're losing. That would be kind of scary. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You suddenly, yeah. Yeah.
Here, guys, at the end of the chapter here, the end of the book. I like how he mentions here at the end of the book, 2025, which we're almost there. In the year 2025, a boy in Locale 1 pushes a button on a device much like a portable radio. I perceive the signal and turn my attention to him. Hi there, son. I greet him warmly, and my great-great-grandchild smiles in recognition. The future, I don't think that's going to happen, guys, in 2025. I'm curious to know what you guys think, if we have progressed on the second state as far as Monroe was thinking it might be by 2025. What do you guys think on that?
Did anybody ever hear of this psychic phone that the University of Arizona has been working on?
No.
No.
Yeah, I've seen little blips of it, and I'm very skeptical about it. But there's a University of Arizona that's really into all these paranormal psychic things, and they were supposedly working on a phone, a smartphone.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Seems like we had something like that in one of the lectures. Been a couple of years. I don't think it was a cell phone at the time, but yeah, it was some sort of phone. But it never really went anywhere.
Who knows?
I believe actually that will be the way to eventually establish comms with altered states. Is bioelectrical currents. It may not. I don't know about it relying on non-bioelectrical current, but I do believe bioelectrical current can be a conduit used to communicate with the other side.
Wouldn't that be interesting? I wonder if people would take life the same if that happened, where it's like, you know what, life sucks, so I'm just gonna kill myself because I know what happens. How that would change. You know what, Juice? You see that that statement you just placed there. I wonder if that's the reason why this is guarded. Yeah. Right. Because you're right. That would be the same thing like with UFOs and stuff like that.
you can't let that out into the public if it does exist. I'm not saying it does or doesn't, because the ramification and the impact it would have on today's society, people would lose their minds. I mean, hey, if I hate this place, I don't want to be here no more, but I do know that there exists another side or another level of transition, and I might as well just, take the jump off the bridge.
Right. Monroe, he gets into a thing in the later books called loosh. It's a
Okay.
type of energy that we produce from all the drama here on the planet. So the more drama that's here on the planet, the more loosh that is produced, and the more it's harvested by other beings. So if people know that this is going on, or know that their life sucks, or that they're producing this energy, yeah, it's going to be guarded. It's going to be interesting in the future books here.
What book is that?
I forget if he gets. I think he gets into the loosh on the next one. I think he gets into it.
Okay.
And yeah, he feels that's what's going on here. We're basically just a drama planet to produce this type of energy for beings that need it.
Oh,
Wow. I
Yeah.
can't. Yeah. Hey, Jace, you there? I don't know if Jace is there. I want to thank him again for the links.
Yeah.
Thanks again for the links. I really appreciate it, man. I'm ready to go. When Juice starts organizing the days and everything, I'm ready to go for the next book.
Oh yeah, and then the next ones will be much easier. They're broken into chapters. It's not just one giant, MP3 file. So it'll just be better. But yeah, oh cool. I'm glad you enjoy that, and you get more time. Robert Wagner's book, The Lucid Dreaming, Within Yourself.
I got them downloaded, so thanks again, man.
Yeah. No, happy to help.
So guys, who here thinks that we got as far as Monroe was thinking back in the 60s, the 50s and 60s, and he also, almost mentions 2025 here. Do you think he thought it was going to be more advanced now, out of body, or do you think less? Who's brave enough to talk about it?
Well, there's more from what I've gathered now, because I've been projecting for quite a while now, like since the early 70s, and it was not many people knew about astral projection. There was not many of it, but since the 2000, there's been an explosion of it, explosion of these experience. Now, it might mean that they've been happening all the while, but we didn't know it. But at the onset of internet and everything is all coming together. So we're now finding that there are many people that have these experiences that we have. So I suggest that might have been the case in the beginning, because but we're now all coming. We're all now coming together now.
But now the world is growing so much more, though, so we're more spread out than ever as well, though, because the world population is going crazy.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yes, I think this is just slowly breaking away from religion that has held us back over the centuries. Now we're slowly breaking out. We're able to think for ourselves instead of thinking like the herd. Because before, in the past, the way human beings used to be directed, they used to be directed by one person who told them what to do. So slowly we are becoming more individualized now, where we can think for ourselves. So that's an evolution itself.
Marty?
I'm wondering, you guys that do these virtual reality games, that sure seems like that should be a way to get out of your body, I mean, like, it's almost exactly the same thing, but you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah, where's Stephanie when these questions come up? That slacker.
No, it's not normal for Steph to miss meetups.
She had another meetup that she deemed more important. But yeah, Stephanie was working on, and I helped her with it. some virtual reality that was just exactly for that, using some tips and techniques to try and help people get out. So still a work in progress, but yeah, people are doing that.
Maybe that's a way it'll happen. You know, it's gone leaps and bounds better than it has been in the past. I mean, is it not? I haven't experienced virtual reality, but you guys.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah.
Even when the graphics aren't that great, you feel totally immersed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I noticed that it kind of makes me appreciate this reality more the more I play virtual reality. It's like, hey, I'm already in a virtual reality right now. Why do I need to play this virtual reality when I'm already in a virtual reality? But then I want to see what's going on beside on top of this reality on top of that. So it's I don't know.
Now's a good time, I think, to try virtual reality though, because the social engineers haven't gotten a hold of it yet. It's not popular enough that, you know, there's all the hooks like World of Warcraft and stuff that addict people. So
Yeah.
my experience with it is that, you know, like I have a lot of fun when I'm doing it, but I don't have any urge to like jump back into it, and I'll go months without actually playing VR.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's a good time to play with it.
Yeah, I hear you, Jace. I lose my interest too a little bit because I'd rather figure out Marty the out of body virtual reality is better than the virtual reality that you get. So you got to make a choice which one you want to put your energy towards.
No, I was just thinking if you could get it advanced enough to where you could go out of body into virtual reality,
Whoa.
that you
Okay.
know, you might be able to get some people to like really form a group and have a little
That's
virtual
the
reality
thing.
army out of body.
Well, like just kind of like a slight tangent on that. Tom Campbell talks about like whenever there's enough consensus and interest, focused attention on things like World of Warcraft. He's like, now that's a thing out there in the astral. Like there exists that construct because so many people have poured so much of their attention into it that it's just like Juan was saying earlier about, you know, like you make your coffee in your room, then after a while it takes on energy of its own, and so like there's just so much energy in some of these games that like it really exists out there, and you can go and check it out and like play it for real, you know, that kind of thing. So fun times.
No, I read a hypothesis it was written based off Elon Musk's statement about the simulated hypothesis. Have you heard about that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've heard about the simulated hypothesis. So Elon Musk claims that, I believe this is what he claims, is that currently we are potentially experiencing a form of virtual reality unbeknownst to ourselves. I'm kind of summarizing it here. So he's looking at it as if 10 years from now, virtual reality will be as real as the way we are looking at life right now. You can plug in and you're experiencing another whole existence. So yeah, you've seen that, and Juice. So
Oh,
this,
yeah.
yeah. So this hypothesis I read, the gentleman, or I don't know if it was a gentleman or a woman, a man or a woman, but they wrote that what if when we astrally project, that's when we are actually connecting subconsciously to the real reality, and we're just here when we wake up, we're in this reality. That was just a hypothesis though. I mean, I just found it interesting because it just explains so much. And that the person was explaining how there's all these firewalls implemented around us, but unfortunately, like any digital firewall, it can be breached and information gets bleeded in. Hence how he explains why there's this common belief in the deep web that there's a tremendous amount of dimensional bleeding going on, when essentially what he's trying to explain is that he or she is explaining that dimensional bleeding is actually a bit of the firewall that's breaking down between the virtual reality or that exists and that we are connected in, and we're living here right now, as opposed to whatever's really happening out there, the matrix kind of thing. I mean, I just found it interesting how he incorporated astral projection, and that was one of our conduits, the other side, an unexpected conduit, I should say.
Yeah, it's an awesome theory. I love it too.
So does Musk actually acknowledge astral travel, or does he ever actually refer to it
That
out of body?
yeah, I couldn't confirm if he
No.
acknowledges it. Yeah.
He just talked about UFOs, off and on recently, that he might be an alien, or people think he's an
Oh, sure.
alien. Yeah. He doesn't know if there's aliens walking among us. He doesn't really care. If there is, then it'll just change his reality. Okay, now there's aliens here.
Well, if you guys ever read into any Michael Newton stuff, he says there's hybrids. That
Yeah.
some of us are hybrids. Probably me.
We all are here.
He says a lot of the hybrids aren't emotionally strong enough to deal with the crap that gets shoveled onto us. And that would be me.
That's why I named my YouTube channel Reality Hackers, because I feel like people that are doing this are trying to basically, if we are under a type of control, we're trying to basically hack out our way out of it, try to figure out the big picture, what's going on. That's why I named it Reality Hackers, because we're trying to get out and trying to figure out what's going on. We don't want to just sit by and just deal with it and just go with it. We're actually trying to wake up and trying to get out.
Yeah, once you're able to astral project, then that's it. That's the gateway out.
Yeah, there's no turning back from that.
That's the gateway out of the matrix. And that means you've recovered your wings now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Juice, I know I've mentioned this before, but I just gotta reiterate again. This is probably one of the best meetups I've ever joined, and if I could be so bold to say, it's because, in my opinion, even though we all have our different beliefs, I like the fact that we're questioning a number of things, especially about Robert Monroe's book, and we're breaking it down, and we're saying, it's possible. Let's ask questions about it. Let's hear different opinions. Like, I don't feel a level of arrogance, and that is a pleasant surprise and extremely refreshing.
Cool.
I'm used to that out there in the esoteric world. People they're arrogant, and they're set in their ways, and it's this and it's this, it's this and it's this and this. I like the fact that we can question it, and it's more based off conviction as opposed to arrogance. So I really appreciate this. Has been a monumental effect on me over the last 2 weeks. My level of anxiety has seriously decreased, and I have no clue if it's the video game playing or if it's your group, but thank you regardless.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well,
That means a lot.
Talking to all of you, Marty, Juwan, Juice, Jace. I don't know Thomas, actually. Even Brent the last time, Julie, and and Steph, of course.
Thanks, David. Yeah, it means a lot. That's how I pictured of having a group, doing it like this, of questioning, and nobody feeling afraid to say something when they want to say and question stuff, no matter how much somebody knows. Cool. Well, we'll end it on that good note.
Okay.
All right, guys. So Wednesday, just an open discussion about the whole book. So feel free to pick out one or two things out of the entire book, and we'll bring it up and talk about it. And thanks, guys. Good night.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Yeah,
Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming.